So we've got a really, really cool video coming up for you. So my client Toby was kind enough to just spend the last hour with me on Zoom here, going under the hood in exactly how we've managed to grow his fitness business from 5K a month just over a year ago to now doing 13K months just a year later. But it's really cool because not only is he now at 13K months and he's got 70 to 80 clients, he's also barely working. He works from 9 until 12, gets a 30-minute break, and then works until 3, and then he's off. Fridays are half days, and he goes into all of the way that we've grown the business and everything else. Some of the biggest things that you're going to get from this video is a real deep, under the hood look at the exact business that he's running right now and how we've done this. The biggest things that you're going to take away is, number one, halfway through, we made a huge shift to the structure of his business and was able to pretty much double the amount of money he was making. Well, I say pretty much more than double the amount of business he was making without needing to make more sales. You're going to hear how he's able to make sales consistently every single month and the system that he's using for that. You're going to hear how he was able to use messaging to become the only choice for his people. Once we got his messaging and positioning and his territory clear, he was then able to sign more people up. His ads were working better. And also, the people that were coming through were sticking with him longer, and they were choosing to pay more money to him because they were choosing his higher tiers, because he became the only person that was doing that. And the final really big thing that you're going to get out of this is how Toby is able to make 13K months and serve 70 to 80 clients without spending all time in delivery because of the leverage that he's built, the community he's built, and everything else. So you've got a real deep video coming up. Lock in, get a pen and a paper, maybe a coffee, and let's go.
Course of the last couple of years, I took like an 80K pay cut basically to leave my job, and then I wasn't paying myself in the first year. My whole family have had to come along for the ride
Of
of doing
course.
that, which has been not difficult for them necessarily, but difficult for me. And
Yeah.
they've been with me alongside that. And like when they say like, oh, like I'm so proud of what you've done, or like even my kids just like, oh, it's really cool. Like one of my oldest son said to me recently, I think it's really cool that you left your job and like now you run your own business and you do really well. And like just those little things just mean so much
That is
because
amazing.
they've come along for the ride with me, and now I'm able to say, fucking hell, it was actually worth it. I am actually doing the thing that I've dreamt I would be doing.
So we've been working together now for about 13 months, and we've had a good time with it, right? And what I love about your results, and by the way, Toby's working in fitness. We're about to go really deep into this. But what I love about your results is they are they're really gradual, like it's very easy for certain people to be able to blow up in 1 month really, really quickly and have a really, really, really big win over like a 90-day period or a 2 month period or even a 30-day period. But it doesn't necessarily stick. What I love about your results that we're about to show everyone on YouTube and everything else is it's been really gradual, and it's the kind of results that have been slowly building up and they're not going to go away. We've been building up to it. We've been building the skill set up to it. We've been building the marketing up to it and actually the business up to it. And it's the kind of growth that doesn't just, you know, disappear the next month. So before we kick off, have you got anything to say about the last 13 months? Not testimonial wise, just how it's been for you.
It feels like it's been a culmination of trying to solve a lot of different problems over the course of the however long I've been doing this, like three years or four. Um, but this year is the year where it felt like things actually came together consistently. Like it always felt like, oh, I'm fixing marketing and then I'd fix that and there'd be another hole in the bucket, or I'd fix retention and then marketing would fall away or sales would fall away. But this year it feels like things have come together and the results have kind of shown that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think everything I try and do and the way I try and build my business around like my life is about sustainability. It's not like about max like those like mad months necessarily, although they're obviously good if as long as
They're
they're
fun. They're
sustainable.
fun when they
But it's
happen.
about sustainability, and it feels now like I definitely worry less about the things that I've worried about in the first few years of
Yeah,
business.
that's great. I'm curious then, I know we haven't even started screen sharing yet, but I am curious, what was it that do you think that helped solve all of those problems without the other thing breaking and everything else and made things start to feel a lot more stable?
Um, there's a combination of things. I think some of it is the compounding of work that you do and that people don't see, like the behind the scenes stuff of you just gradually improving delivery based on the feedback of clients. You gradually get more and more results, which gives you more social proof, which builds authority. I think you've encouraged me to focus a lot more on like building the brand and a world around it as well. And
Yeah.
I think that's really helped getting clearer on exactly who I want to serve and how focusing more on the things that give me energy and building those into the delivery.
Yes.
All of that has helped because all of that energizes me, and that then flows out into like my community. And obviously, as anyone watching this will know who runs an online business, if you are bringing energy to your sales and marketing, then that's a much better place to be than operating from a place of scarcity or fear, which then obviously shows to people who might be interested in working with you and then makes everything worse. So it's like the opposite of that.
100%. Cool. Let's get stuck into things then. So let's start with who you are, just for a little bit of context for everyone watching. Background, niche and avatar, offer, and we'll finish off with why did you join? So yeah, give us a little bit of a background, like how long you've been a fitness coach, maybe what was happening before, especially if it's relevant. Anything that you think might be relevant for the context.
Yeah, so I worked in the NHS in IT and cybersecurity for 17 years, so like 6 years in cybersecurity. Um, I was really successful in my career. I got pretty senior. I had like a lot of responsibility, but very, very stressful. The more senior I got, the more money I made, the more stressful it became, the more miserable I was. I hit 40 around like 2020, so like the lockdowns and everything at the same time. And I realized I just like I didn't want to do this for the rest of my working life. So I started thinking like what am I good at? What do I know a lot about? What do people ask me about? And I quickly settled on the idea of health and fitness. Started just kind of making it up as I go along, realized I didn't know anything, got some help. Once I had started getting the building blocks in place for a proper business with what is now Mind and Matter Fitness, I quickly realized that this is what I should be doing.
Yeah,
And it felt like the right thing at the right time. So from there, I was like building it up on the side while still working full time. Went part time, reduced my hours, reduced my salary a couple of times as the business grew, and then in January 2024 went full time, and then I've been working online, running the business full time since then.
perfect. Now full time online. And I remember there was a time in since we've been working together, I think, um, that we finally hit that mark, right? Where it was like, okay, we have fully replaced and doing more than what you were doing before, which was always a goal. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, the first priority when I went full time was to be able to pay myself properly, to not worry about money so much. And I used my previous salary as like a marker of being able to do that, a benchmark.
Yeah,
And I achieved that last year. I'm now making more than I ever have in my life, which is obviously brilliant. And with
very
all of the
nice.
freedom and the fulfillment and doing something that I'm really passionate about. I suppose outside of that, it might just be worth mentioning. I live in the northeast of England. I've got two boys. I live with my partner and my two sons, who are 13 and 10. Co-parent them. Their mum lives not far away. So classic midlife, family life, busy, time poor, but fun.
Yeah. I think that's a really good thing to add, to be honest, because in our conversations as well, um, every single decision that we've made in your business and um, everything that every move that we've made, that's been a huge consideration, right? Which is like your lifestyle is very clear. Your lifestyle has always come first, and everything has been through the lens of, okay, but will this allow me to continue to live the life that I want to live as well? Which is really, really important as we get into the rest of this, because I think it's easy, probably, I know I'm younger, but probably for younger people as well, it's really easy to forget the importance of like, well, we're building this so we can also have the life that we want. You probably come from a pretty good place to be able to see that because of this experience over here that you felt the other side and now you're like, okay, I'm very, very, very clear on the life that I want. And I think you've done a really, really good job of being able to build this very consciously around that.
Yeah, I think that's just like a life's work, isn't it? The work's never done. Your
Yeah.
values and priorities change as your circumstances change in life. I sometimes think, damn, I wish I'd started this 20 years ago. I look enviously at some of the guys in your group who are younger and don't have the same constraints, but also the constraints are like a forcing function to help me build a business that actually works for my life rather than just
Exactly.
a prison.
Exactly. So niche and avatar, who do we work with? What do we
I
do?
work with midlife guys, 35 to early 60s. They are tend to be knowledge workers, so in corporate roles, sedentary, office-based or working at home. They use their brains, they don't use their body for work, is how I'd summarize it. Um, they tend to know kind of what they should be doing. Their goals are like they've got vanity goals around fat loss and physique, but also they're thinking about their long-term health as you tend to do when you enter your mid years. They want to be there. They want more energy. They want less stress. They feel like fitness is always the thing that is sacrificed when life gets busy. They've tend to have been they come from a background of like all or nothing, being all in on smashing it and making some progress, but then it never sticks. So a lot of their problem is around how to make it sustainable, both in terms of the practicality of things like training and nutrition, but not limited to those things, but also the mindset
Yeah.
that actually makes it possible. So we work on, yes, the kind of the foundational stuff of health and fitness, but we also focus a lot on cognitive health, productivity, mindset, as part of it as well.
Yeah. And I think what's really cool is we've spoken about this before. Now that we've started to bring that into the brand, it's always been part of the brand, but now that we've started to bring it in even more and build the brand around that, people are actually coming to you or upselling into higher packages because of these things versus just the fitness and the fat loss, right?
For sure, and that's probably one of the things that we'll dive deeper on. But that's fairly new in that I always knew it's like a huge passion of mine, like brain health, neuroscience, and productivity as well. And I always knew that I wanted to kind of incorporate it. I did some like one-to-one productivity coaching earlier on. It wasn't very good. It wasn't structured or anything. But this year, I feel like I've knitted the two things together coherently, finally. And going back to the idea about energy, part of the reason I did that, and I remember asking you, was like, do you think this is a good idea? And you were like, I do think it's a good idea, but ultimately, the most important thing is you seem energized by this. And if you're
Yeah.
energized by this, you should do it. It goes back to the thing that you're saying a lot at the moment about like doing cool shit. This
Yeah.
was a thing that to me was like, this is cool. I want to do it. And my clients have like totally bought into that in the community. And then that obviously feeds outwards to other people who might be interested in working with me as well.
Yeah, we should definitely talk about that because I know that there'll be a lot of people probably in the marketing part or whatever, but there'll be a lot of people watching that are fitness coaches. And I know for a fact that there's so many of them that want to also be doing kind of different work, or some may call it deeper work with their clients and stuff like this, and what they might deem as more valuable, but struggling to see how they can sell it. And, we've spoken about this, like I said to you once before, like you just said, there is a huge, huge benefit to just being able to build a business around something that really does energize us, that we're already doing ourselves and we just love talking about. It just makes a much more unique brand and a much more magnetic person that's actually running the brand. But there's also, as we've spoken about that a lot, there's also a very fine line to walk, right? Which is like there's a fine line between um, keeping fitness the main thing or fat loss the main thing, and then being able to also intrigue people with this other stuff versus messing it up and people not knowing. So I'm sure we'll dive a little bit deeper into that at some point because it looks like we've got the fine line on point. And let's look at the offer stack. So what are we currently selling? I know we've got a little bit, so we'll call it the offer stack. What are we selling at the moment?
Yes, I run a initial 6 week program, which is primarily group based, but with some like one-to-one elements, like a one-to-one onboarding call, etc. That then converts into monthly recurring, a few different subscription options. I also have a one-to-one mastery program, which is like a higher tier, more intimacy, more one-to-one support, more direct feedback and guidance from me. So about 80 to 85% of my clients are in the group level, and then about 10 to 15 are in one-to-one. Within the community, or my overall client base at the moment is between 70 and 80. And then I've got like a lower tier, no direct support offer that I only offer to ex clients who are on the edge of leaving, so they retain access to the community and things like that, which is
Yeah.
just a lower tier thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Fitness, everyone should have a little secret drop down offer because everyone's going to drop off at some point. And if we can keep them in the program, keep them making results and keep them paying us, it's usually for the best. Perfect. And then and we'll probably go deeper into that as well once we get to under the hood. Um, so 13 months ago or so, what made you want to join?
Yeah, so I run adverts to a free 10-day course, and at the end of the course, I share more about my program. I've been doing that for a few years. It's worked really well to help me grow to where I've got to. Hit a bit. The problem with it is it's always being quite inconsistent, and I can never bottle exactly why some might result in, say, 8 new clients, and some might only result in one or two.
Yeah.
And around April last year, I was at the point where I was like, I want to scale up now, I want to grow. So I scaled up the ad spend, spent more on ads that month than I ever had before, and made no sales. So I was really confident it was going to go well because it was a really engaged group, and I made no sales. I was like, what the fuck? Something obviously needs to change. I saw one of your adverts on Facebook for the offer builder, which was like your low tier thing at the time, low like
Yeah.
one-off
Five
offer, sorry.
pounds, £5 offer.
Yeah. I already knew about you because I had worked with someone who'd worked with you, and she gave a really good recommendation. So I bought that because, why not?
Yeah.
Worked on it, like went all in on it, did it all over the course of 2 weeks, then restructured my offer around it, around the five Ps and everything else you covered in that course. Um, Tested that in the next run of the course, made more sales, and I was like, well, this has worked. And obviously, you were like, yeah, so if you want to work with me more closely over 8 weeks or whatever, then this is the offer, and then signed up for that. And then since then, we've been working together. We were working together at group for a while, and then now one to one.
Yes, I love it. And there you go. The system works for everyone.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
That's always funny when that happens. And so the biggest things was just inconsistency, right? So the things you were experiencing that made you want to join was inconsistency. Sometimes it was working and relying too heavily on the direct response kind of ads and not too much in terms of the organic. Is that correct?
Yeah. So it usually works well to present an offer to someone who's fairly new. If they've gone through the 10-day course and they're well engaged and they say yes, then I've got a client and my retention's really good. It's better now than it was then. But I'm also growing an email list and an audience on the back of it. So my Instagram audience has grown a lot. My email audience has grown to 4 to 5K. But I was really struggling to make any sales if they said no at that first point. And that was another thing that we worked on
Yeah.
when we started working together through last summer. And that helped to bring in more clients who'd been sitting on my email list, but I just
Yeah.
hadn't made offers to.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool thing that's probably worth saying now. Because we spoke about that even before you signed up, right? Like you've got this pretty big email list that isn't doing anything at the moment. Although you're emailing them, it was once or twice a week or so.
Yeah.
Once they've gone through the ads, not too much else is happening. And that was the problem, right? If the ads don't work that week or that month, nothing works, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a really cool thing to add is, one of the first wins that we got was once you joined, we started to implement the things to actually allow us to tap into that big audience of like 4,000 email subscribers that we hadn't tapped into before. And we had some really good months right off the bat, didn't we? Just by being able to kind of like tap into these pools that we'd already created.
Yeah, so last June I ran the value trade strategy, so offering calls in exchange for value. I made loads of sales that month, both because the ads worked and because I made eight, I think, sales from just from my email list and that process.
Yeah.
So I remember that month being like, yes, this is proof of concept.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and things have been good since then.
So let's have a look at the journey. So we won't go before. We'll go before you joined, where we were, what we were making, where we were, how business was feeling. And then, however many months after, just over a year after, where we're at now, if that's cool with you.
Yeah, so I suppose the obvious thing to start with is revenue and turnover. I was doing, I think, between 4 to 6K a
Yeah.
month, which wasn't
We'll
bad,
call it
but I
5K.
knew there was obviously a lot of potential there to improve things, and it felt like it could definitely have been, I could definitely have been making more money for the amount of effort I was putting in, is how it felt.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not like I was like grinding myself down, but I was working more hours than I do now for sure. I think I had a feeling that I could see where some of the problems were, but I wasn't clear on how to fix them.
Mhm.
And it felt a little bit like I was treading water, and there was pressure each month to even hit that 4 to 5K, which is kind of, it's what I deem to be like a safe number. If I once I've hit that, I know that I've covered like my expenses for the month, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
So that was fine, but obviously that wasn't why I went into business, to just tread water every month.
Yeah. What was it about treading water then? It was just it had been like this for a while then had it where it wasn't really showing too much signs of growth. It was more just like fighting to stay where you were.
Yeah, and I had a couple of bigger months, like making 7 or 8
Yeah.
k once or twice, I think, due to cash injections. But it felt like I wasn't like increasing revenue, even though the delivery was awesome, the community was awesome, and I had all the building blocks in place. They just
Yeah.
weren't all working as effectively as they could.
Cool. So there was, and that's never a good thing to feel, is it? When there's like every single month, it feels like, okay, more pressure to just make sure this month is a safe one. And then, of course, because there was only the one channel, because only ads were making sales, I believe,
Yeah.
or most of the time, there was this huge amount of pressure that like, and how many, like back then, how many times were you running this kind of challenge? It was just once a month.
Or sometimes I would try and run it more aggressively. Whenever I do that, it doesn't work very well.
Yeah.
So, like once a month on average, sometimes more.
So there's probably a lot of pressure leading up to that one single chance to make this month a good month then when it was coming up to the free challenge.
Yeah, the sales window is kind of anxiety inducing, even if
Yeah.
it's been good, especially once you've had that experience of thinking it's going to go well and then it doesn't. Obviously, introduces a lot of doubt next time and the next
Yeah.
time and the next time.
Yeah. Anything else from before? Maybe it doesn't have to be, but maybe there's something about how it was feeling, what you was doing or anything else.
Um, I suppose I was like the classic solo business owner trying to do everything, getting into all of the detail, trying to manage everything, convincing myself I couldn't afford to hire anyone to help me because
Mm.
I needed to be making a certain amount of money before I did that. There was definitely a sense of that as well. I don't
Yeah.
feel like I was acting like a CEO. I was acting like just a guy who was pulling a bunch of strings to try and hold everything together.
Yeah. Acting like a guy that just kind of happened to own a business.
Yeah,
Not
like I could
necessarily.
never have. There was nothing in the business where I could just like hand off a process to someone new and
Yes.
go, "This is how you do it." It wasn't like professional. It was all in my head.
Yeah, so nothing felt like a clear process. And I actually see that a lot with the people that join. The thing I hear a lot, I don't think you've said this, but the thing I hear a lot from people that join and we work together for a while is I finally feel like I've got a real business. Like it starts to feel like there's a few more levers to pull and a few more like outcomes that usually happen when they pull those levers. So a lot more calmness and consistency from knowing our processes, right?
Yeah,
Cool.
for sure.
So let's just call it a year later for it to be easy. So a year later or around a year later, where are we now?
So like Q2 2026, April to June, I did 33 or 34K over the quarter. So that's an average, obviously, of more than 10K a month, which is awesome. Um, the what was the ceiling of 4 to 6K is now the floor, basically, of the business, and that was in the first bit of this year, and actually since then things have been things have been notably higher from a turnover perspective. I'm working less, so I work like 9 to 12, half hour lunch break, and then I tend to finish like 3:30. By the time I go and pick my son up from school, which is like 3:30 ish, I tend to finish before 4 p.m. and 4 p.m. is like a hard stop. Rarely work on a Friday afternoon, so I usually finish at lunchtime on a Friday as well. Feel like I've got loads of time. I've got an assistant who does a few couple of hours a day for me, and obviously that means I've had to professionalize the processes and things,
Yep.
so I can hand that off. But not only that, it's mean I've had to step into the mindset and the identity of the guy who is not doesn't have to do everything and doesn't have to be in every single detail and just to trust things can work. My partner also does some unpaid work for me in the business, but we won't dwell on that too much.
Yeah.
She's got a full-time job as well. Um, it feels calmer, and
Yeah.
it's not like I go into every month thinking, yeah, I'm easily gonna make more money than ever this month. There's still like some volatility,
Mhm.
like that's natural. I feel much better equipped to deal with it, not least because the numbers are higher, so there's less financial anxiety around it.
I think this is worth adding. So, what were the two big months in here?
So I did 12.3K in April, then 8 to 9 in May, and then about 13 in June. Hopefully that adds up to 33 to
Yeah.
34. It
Yeah.
was around that.
Yeah. And then 13K in June, which is perfect. So, we've pretty much not only have we gone from averaging around 5K per month to being able to almost have a triple, almost have a triple month, triple of that month at 13K. And it's not the most unusual because you've had a 12K before. But also, when we just look at the floor, when we just look at the standard, obviously 5K per month average is going to give you 15K quarters. And we've pretty much over the year been able to get you to 34K. So just over doubled the actual business because we're looking at quarters. And just to be clear for everyone at home, because a lot of people don't do this, we are talking cash collected, aren't we? We're not talking contracted.
No, that's all cash collected.
This is everything that goes in the Stripe account. I want to be
Yeah.
clear of that because there's a lot of people that do these and they're talking cash contracted, which is a totally different game. I'm sure if we did contracted, you'd be having 20K, 25K months here. Cool. This is great. Anything else? I'm loving this though as well. So we've managed to pretty much double the business or more. We're managing to work less and feel calmer. We know the levers that we can pull, and there's a few more elements of the business that are actually growing it. Anything else you'd add here, or does that feel complete?
I suppose just a kind of like a little one is that like over the course of the last couple of years, I took like an 80K pay cut basically to leave my job, and then I wasn't paying myself in the first year. My whole family have had to come along for the ride of
Of
doing
course.
that, which has been not difficult for them necessarily, but difficult for me, and
Yeah.
they've been with me alongside that, and like when they say like, oh, like I'm so proud of what you've done, or like even my kids just like, oh, it's really cool. Like one of my oldest son said to me recently, I think it's really cool that you left your job and like now you run your own business and you do really well. And like just those little things just mean so much
That is
because
amazing.
they've come along for the ride with me, and now I'm able to say, fucking hell, it was actually worth it. I am actually doing the thing that I've dreamt I would be doing.
That's actually so cool because I don't even know what to write here, but not only is this and this is obviously way before working with me that happened anyway, but not only is this the money, which is obviously really, really good to be making 13K months is a lot more than most people, but it's also the example that you've been able to. And I can tell you from my own experience, I remember when my dad was a mechanic and he got fired, then the only thing that he had that he could do was start a garage himself. And it was a very, very stressful time for them. I didn't really know too much about it. But that shaped how I see the world now, being able to see my dad work for himself and be able to go and make it work and then have way more money on the other side than he ever had before. It's hard to say how much it shaped me, but I'm pretty sure it shaped me a lot. So I'm sure you're doing the exact same thing with your children as well, which is
Yeah,
pretty
that's
cool.
very cool to hear because I guess it just illustrates that you have autonomy, and control, and you can't control everything, but you can influence and you can shape the kind of life that you want to live. And hopefully it's over the course of as they grow and they start thinking about their careers, their minds will be expanded because they've seen that there are different ways to do
Yeah.
things, and it's not all about following the default path.
Yeah, yeah, which is I would say a very, very, very good, really amazing example to set, a life-changing example. So that's probably a big win. Don't know how to write it down, but that's probably a very, very big win. Cool. So let's go under the hood. So we've been able to, let's just recap. So we've been able to, over the last year and a bit, grow from 5K per month, feeling like we're treading water, to getting to pretty much like safely doubling the business in a very gradual way that feels calmer, working less, and now being able to have 13K cash collected months, while having a pretty nice lifestyle over here.
By the way, if you're enjoying the video so far and you want to hear what it's like to work together, drop me an Instagram. The link will be below in the description. Drop me an Instagram with the word case study, and we'll have a little back and forth in the DMs with voice notes. I don't do sales calls, don't worry, nothing salesy or high pressure like that. We'll go back and forth in the DMs and see if it's going to be a good fit for you. If so, I will send over all of the details and we can go from there.
So let's have a look under the hood at how we've been able to build this fitness business to this place. We'll look at product/delivery. We'll look at marketing. We'll look at sales. I know that especially for our models, sales and marketing are very, very much entwined. So we'll see what comes up in each. And then we'll look at, if there is anything, we'll look at some mindset stuff as well, that anything, and we can have as much or as little in either of these as possible. But this is just for the people that are watching to really be able to see actually under the hood, instead of just doing a video of how good I am or whatever else, and actually be able to take some really good value away from this. You don't have to say everything, just the stuff that you think is like, you would tell yourself maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, or even just 1 year ago, that was the big things that really helped, or even just how it's set up. So we'll start with product/delivery. What have you been able to, what does it look like, if there's anything there that is useful to share? Or what's been a really useful thing that's allowed this to actually happen, especially because you're not only have we doubled the business or more, but you're also actually working less, which is really cool.
Yeah, so I think that for the first couple of years of running the business, or the first 2 to 3 years, probably driven by imposter syndrome and scarcity thinking, I was effectively charging group pricing, but delivering one-to-one program.
Classic stuff.
So I was like massively over delivering and not being paid enough for that
Yeah.
effectively. So over time, I've really worked on leverage, scaling, driving more towards like community-based resources. I've built out AI-powered toolkits that have brought all my resources and my knowledge base into one place. So it's not just like generic AI stuff. It's like built on everything I believe around training and nutrition. I've really tried to think, if this isn't repeatable, it's not scalable in everything that I do. So I try to do much less like just do things off the cuff just because it's the easy thing to do, and try and think, how can this be a repeatable process? That's also allowed me to then build like a legitimate one-to-one tier where I can charge much more and give people the right level of support that that they deserve for like paying me that much money, and like that they feel like they need. It also allows me to dive deeper with them on stuff that you can't necessarily do at a group level. So the training and nutrition is the cornerstone, and the mindset is like what everybody gets. A lot of the guys want to work on things like stress management, productivity, and we can do some of that stuff in like the community, but a lot the kind of the tailored, the bespoke stuff needs to come from more one-to-one support.
Yeah.
So I think now I've got a delivery model that allows me to serve lots of people at scale and then work more closely with those who want to. And that works really well. It works well for me and my time and my energy. It also works well because some guys just legitimately don't feel like they need one-to-one and they get great results otherwise. Others just want more support, or they want to make sure they're doing everything within their power to get the results that they want to, so they pay more. And I think the other thing to say is that the community is really, really strong. Like, it's easy to think it's just a bunch of guys in a WhatsApp group, which is it is technically, but they're like the ways they support each other, the stuff they share. It's not just, oh, I did my training today, or hit some PRs, or here's a like healthy meal. They talk about their life, they talk about the challenges they're facing, they support each other. A few of them have like linked up when they've been going through a struggle. Like a couple of the guys were struggling with grief and bereavement last year. They like off their own back just got in contact with each other and started supporting each other. I've done 2 community events this year, so like people are traveling to come and spend time with me and the other guys in the
Always so cool,
community.
isn't it?
Yeah, and that was quite scary to do that for the first time. It was quite daunting in March. We did a trek last month. There were 8 or 9 of us there. It was awesome. We're already planning the next one. There was other guys in the community who had FOMO, and they were like, "I really want to come to the next one." So I think that's been massive because it's unique, and I know that there are guys who've worked with other coaches and like it was all one to one. I felt very isolated, but also it helps me because they don't coach each other, but the guys who I've worked with for a long time give quicker answers to questions than often before I see it. Someone will say, "How do we do this?" or "Where do I find that?" And someone will just be like, "Oh, it's here." And they give as good advice as I would have because I've been working with them for ages.
100%. I think one thing is so important for people that are watching to really understand here, because I see this, especially with coaches all of the time. They are, especially when they're stuck with only one offer, they are stuck usually charging middle of the road pricing and giving everything, because almost all of us, the good ones at least, we want to give our clients everything pretty much, right? Or some of us feel almost, the ones that need some work on the mindset a little bit, feel indebted to the client with their entire life if they're paying them £200 a month. And the huge problem that this creates is we're in the middle in terms of pricing, and then we usually over deliver in terms of delivery. And we can never create multiple tiers. And as I'm sure we'll talk about probably in the sales aspect or marketing aspect, one of the biggest shifts for you has been working on increasing LTV, right? And to do that, we needed to be able to have multiple tiers so we can serve way more people and serve some people deeper and get more money from them in a happy way. And that's so huge. And you said it yourself. This leverage has allowed you to create very clear, different, distinct tiers. I think before we move on from this, I think there's 2 things that are going to be super useful for people watching, which is what have you done to improve the community, and what have you done to improve the leverage? Because leverage is, of course, really important. And let's just get it clear. You've had up and down, but you've had peaks of around 80 clients, right? With this kind of workload and lifestyle.
Yeah, I think it's now then the default is 70 to 80. I was like around 50 to 70 before and last year. What have I done for the community? We run regular like group challenges, month-long or 6-week challenges on various all sorts of different things. There's a lot of engagement with those.
Yeah. By the way, real quick, I absolutely love that, because so many coaches are trying to create a strong community by just forcing people to use the community elements. Put that in the group, say this in the group, whatever else. And they're just kind of forcing it. You don't really need to force too much when you can actually give people a story to kind of be part of, right? When you can put everyone in the same direction, and month-long challenges where everyone's got the same objective, and they're working towards the same things, and there's things to actually discuss. It just does it naturally. And I think there's also community and there's also culture, right? And that starts to actually create culture where everyone's doing the same thing and working towards it. I love that. So month-long challenges inside the community, I assume working on different aspects, maybe like sleep or something else, and like staying accountable to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly that kind of thing. One thing I definitely do is like get on the dance floor myself. So I don't just like leave them and go, right, everybody share your wins. Or like share something you're frustrated by this week. I'm like leading the way on that, and I'm like vulnerable and transparent about the things I'm dealing with as well, which like helps others to do it. We have theme days every week, so like Wednesday wins, for fuck's sake, Friday. So it's not all like toxic positivity, and we've got a chance to air like little frustrations and things that might not have gone according to plan. So we're normalizing the idea that it's not perfect.
I love that.
And I think the other thing is like tapping into community champions, which I don't call them community champions. They don't have an official title, but there are guys who are like so engaged and want to help. They want to like there's a guy in the community who's helped me with the last event, took some of the thinking off my plate because, as I'm sure you know, like when you're arranging something, it's quite stressful on top of
Yeah.
everything else you're doing. Um, he's really helped, and there's like interviewing clients on my podcast as well, and then sharing that in the community so they can see the journeys other people have been on, and they're like seeing that shared experience in more detail. I think all of that's really helped.
Yeah, I love it. Tapping into community champions, we talked about this as well, um, on an upsell point of view as well, right? Like turning these people into champions, being able to display when, especially when we've got a community of like 70 to 80 people, being able to use the people. Like one of the best things for everyone else listening, we've already spoken about this, but one of the best things to create a culture is when people are inside a community and inside a culture, being able to champion the people that are demonstrating the behaviors that we want replicated is just one of the best ways. It doesn't feel like we're telling them, but we're inviting them into this new way of being. And it's so much better than just us alone trying to champion these behaviors. And it's way better
Yeah.
than no one champion those behaviors and just saying it. And then how
Yeah.
about the leverage side of things? How are we creating so much leverage that your workload is able to be so nice while having 70 or 80 active clients?
I think trial and error, there's a lot of let's see if this thing works. We can
Yeah.
always roll it back if it doesn't. I think my background in technology definitely helps because I'm not afraid of learning new software
Yeah.
and uh, I use a lot of Zapier. So there's a fair amount of like automation in the business. And I've lent into AI rather than fearing it.
Yeah.
Um,
So you're
and I
creating
think
AI
that,
tools
yeah,
for your
exactly.
clients to be
So
able to use and get quicker results.
yeah, so like basically the way I now position that is you've got all the nutrition and training resources at the tap of a button. You don't need to wait for an answer from me for 80 to 90% of the questions you might have. It's all there, and you just
Yeah.
need to open the app and just type in what your question is, and it'll find it for you.
Yeah.
So that's taken a lot of the burden off when it comes to answering the same how much creatine should I take each day, for example, is a question that just
Yeah.
used to always come up, and just like little things like that. And I think the other thing is going back to the over delivery point, just being confident in what I believe. So when I started, I thought, well, people are paying me monthly, so I have to give them the opportunity to update and refresh their training program every month. Even though I don't believe someone needs a new training program every month. To
Hmm.
make long-term progress, it helps to do the same thing. I'd do the same thing for a year if I was making progress with it.
Yeah.
And just like little things like that, just being more confident in what I believe and not I think I was someone would ask something and I would make concessions or I would bend how I do things to please people, thinking I need to give them everything. Now I'm much more like, no, we do it this way. This is why. This is like you don't need that, and this is why. And I just think I'm much more confident in my own beliefs.
Yeah. We get what we ask for, right? Or we get what we tolerate inside of our businesses. And so many people just have come to the conclusion themselves, it needs to be like this. This is what I need to do. We need to do one-to-one weekly check-ins or whatever it may be. And we tolerate it and we make it the truth. But and this is, I'm always trying to hammer this home, especially to fitness coaches again. It's like, these are all just made up jobs. We're just getting people results. There's no rules of what this does need to be and what this doesn't need to be. We can actually create our own business when we're clear on what we want.
Yeah.
So let's talk marketing and brand. So we don't have to go into everything, just like what's really helped us get to this point. What's really helped over the last year of being able to improve the sales that we're making, in terms of marketing and brand.
A two-pronged thing around positioning and philosophy.
Mm,
So positioning, I've tried midlife guys, dads, office workers, and it's worked okay, but I think it's too broad. So really zeroing in on I like we call them knowledge workers.
mhm.
I've asked the guys if they like if that term resonates with them or if they even know what it means. A lot of them don't
Yeah.
because it's not necessarily like common verbiage, but um that kind of person. So midlife guys, yes, they're not all dads. Lots of them aren't, and I think what unites them is that they are in those kind of like desk-based corporate roles, all roles where they're just like draining their brain all day and they're high stress, low time, low energy. So that's like the niche aspect, and then the positioning of
Yeah.
of bringing of
Go.
bringing in the cognitive health, brain health, neuroscience, and productivity aspects of the other stuff that I do in my life, but into tying that together with the kind of cornerstone health and fitness aspects,
Yeah.
which I always I suppose would go. I called the business Mind and Matter Fitness because I believed in that link between brain and body. I just couldn't. I just didn't have a coherent delivery method for it.
Yes.
I think this year I've really lent into that. I've really explored it more. I've become more confident in talking about it and tying those things together. And I truly believe it. Like the guys that I work with are struggling with decision fatigue and being reactive all day. And therefore it's no wonder they get to the end of the day and they're like, I can't be asked going to the gym, or I'm just going to eat crisps instead of eating a proper meal. And working on those aspects is fulfilling for me because I love that stuff. But it's helping them as well. It's helping them not only improve their physique and their health, but they're like better at work. They're more present at home. So I think those two things this year have made
Yeah.
a huge difference.
So I think this is really good because there's a little deeper to go on this because yeah, we've been working on, well, who are these people? Yeah, we don't necessarily say knowledge workers, but you've managed to find a way that to speak to who we know as knowledge workers with specificity in the examples you give and everything else. You've seen your ads are working better when you're leading towards that and everything else. But we didn't just stop here, right? We didn't just stop with like, okay, let's just write knowledge workers in the bio and then just sell like the normal thing that everyone else sells. You have worked on creating your own argument for why knowledge workers, like you said, that are using their brain all day, every way, that all day, every day, that they're desk-based and everything else. You've created an argument for your own philosophy of the way that they should do fitness over anyone else, and you've created a methodology behind that, right? That is, we're not just saying knowledge workers, but we're saying this is the best way to be able to get results as a knowledge worker. And would it be safe to say, and I'd love to hear anything else on that as well, and how you kind of like was able to work on that and how you've seen that work. But would it be safe to say as well, since being able to have that coherent speaking to these people and having a methodology and a solution for them, sales have been better, but also people have been more bought in and then joining your higher tier more frequently because they are seeing that this is specifically built for them.
Yes, and people on mastery calls who might be interested in joining my one-to-one program have specifically said yes and said I can see how this will help me reduce like my cognitive load. So it's not all just about like the faster results. It's about taking away more of the guesswork and decision fatigue from them, which is like what I talk about.
Mm.
I think the other aspect is this is like the life I live. Like these are the things that I do, and it's often been frustrating for me over the last few years when people say like, "How do you get so much done?" or "How do you stay in control of like juggling spinning all these plates or whatever?" And I've not really had a good answer other than, "Well, I just do it all."
Mhm.
But then when I reflected more deeply on it, I'm like, "Well, it's because I have systems in place, and it's because I'm very process driven, and I can help other people with those things if they're
Yeah.
not." I think the other thing it's worth saying on marketing from a marketing perspective is I talk to these people on a level. So like, and by that I mean I've lived that like corporate life, so I can talk about the examples of spending all day on back-to-back team calls and then being like, I've not done any fucking work today. Or like being in the office and trying to eat healthy and then someone like brings in cakes every Friday. So like these are real examples that they're like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
But also I'm like really transparent about, for example, in some of my adverts, my best performing adverts this year, I'm like talking about what I do and I say, look, I run a 10-day free course, but I'm transparent about the fact that I'm going to offer them something at the end.
Mhm.
So I think a lot of the marketing in fitness that I see online, it doesn't mention, it's not like, well, I'm going to try and sell something to you, but people are so savvy nowadays. People know in like a saturated market like fitness, this person has an offer, they've got a program, they want me to work with them. I think people have literally said your marketing stood out as different because you were like you said you open up your Instagram feed and you see every fitness advert looks the same, and that's what I get when I open Instagram. And you said, if you like the course, like I'll show you how you can work with me. So I knew that
Yeah.
I was. It's like they come into the course and they're prepared that there's going to be an offer at the end, and I think that helps. It
Yeah.
doesn't put people off. Well, it might put some people off, but people think this guy's transparent. He's running a business. It's not a charity, and I think they appreciate that I'm not like trying to dupe them or insult
Yeah.
their intelligence.
Yeah, it always puts, this is exactly why when I run a workshop, I always make the offer right at the beginning and at the end because, and in the emails before usually as well, because it always lowers that kind of defensiveness because there's always going to be skepticism, and especially in these kinds of markets. And nowadays, there's a huge amount of skepticism. As soon as, instead of hiding it so much to try and get out of the skepticism, when we just say, hey, this, I am going to make you an offer, but it's going to be good either way, the protection, that defense just drops and people can actually just experience it and enjoy it, right? So
Exactly. So they're not just going, how much is it? How much is it? Like the whole
yeah,
time.
when's he going to sell me?
Yeah.
I love this. So and I know from, obviously us working together, and just generally, this is always the biggest thing, right? It's like, I think the thing to really focus in on here for people watching at home is like your ads got better, your sales from the free challenge got better, and also your sales internally and your sales on in terms of what options people were choosing all got better once we positioned ourselves and, as we say, owned a space or owned a territory, right? Because especially in fitness, one of the most saturated markets in like online coaching of anything, if we just look the same, it's just people are just going to be chasing around on price. But as we've seen, as we've gone harder and harder on this and we've created the solution for these people and everything else, people are literally choosing to pay like double or more the price that they would be paying because they want to get closer to you because you've created a solution for them. And if you're watching at home and you haven't got anything like this, a clear position and a territory that you are owning, that is the first step. And the first step to that is looking at all the territories that you need to give up, right? Because there's a million things you could talk about, there's a million things you could do, but we don't. I think another thing that's worth speaking on this is like this comes from your own unfair advantage. You said you was working in offices and stuff for 17 years. You know everything, the insides and out of that no one is going to know through a bit of market research and stuff. They're going to know from being there. That is an unfair advantage of yours that we're leaning on, and we're serving that person, which is always the best move. Perfect. Sales. So you don't do sales calls, right?
No.
How are we?
Sales from the free course are via a video and then DM conversation usually. Inbound inquiries I tend to sell via an offer doc. Occasionally I'll do like a quick Loom where I talk over something for someone and then just to exchange messages, and all my sales come that way.
Yeah. So we're selling via, so we're doing no sales calls. We're selling by an offer doc for inbounds and people that are coming through this way. And we're selling via a VSL at the end of the free challenge.
Yeah.
And then once people are in and they've paid you something, sales calls aren't needed anyway because they're now in, and you're going to have certain calls with them anyway, and they're going to know exactly what you're talking about. You weren't doing sales calls before we even worked together anyway, right? This isn't even a new thing for you. You've always.
I mean, I've done the odd one here and there, but not in general, no.
I love this because I think, especially in fitness coaching, it's a huge limiting belief. Like, I need to do sales calls, even if it's a £200 a month offer or something like that. People are really believing they need to do sales calls, and they really don't. And especially when you're running the ads and everything else, it's probably working in your favor to not feel like you need to do sales calls because you can just make probably 5 times the amount of offers every single month because you haven't got the friction of trying to get them on a sales call. You haven't got the time load of having to do all of these sales calls, and you're just able to sell at scale, which is always the place that we want to be. Now, I think here's probably the time to talk about, we'll probably just go through the power moves inside of these stuff as well. So here's probably the time to talk about the big shift that we made, right? Because I'll do a little story time here in one of our conversations. You know what I'm probably going to say, but there was a time where Toby asked me, just in a voice note, theoretically speaking, how could I double my business, right? And we spoke about LTV. We had a call. We looked deeply into your program, and we saw that the amount of clients that were coming through was really good. The amount of LTV, which by the way, if you're watching, you don't know what that means, is lifetime value. And average LTV is what's the average that when a client joins that they spend with you over everyone. We saw that the average LTV was pretty low, right? And we made a couple of changes, and it made some good changes, right? So I'd love for us to talk about that for a second, because I feel like that was probably one of the biggest things that did actually genuinely double the business.
It definitely is. And the big change has been in instead of just having like a one-to-one tier where I'm like, hey, work with me more closely, positioning that as a process and an offer, just like I do for the first 6 weeks, that's made a massive difference. So just the act of doing that, and this is the one exception to the sales call thing, by the way, because if somebody is interested in working with me one to one, then I will have a sales call. It's not a sales call because they're a client, so it's like relaxed.
Yeah.
It feels very easy. I don't get stressed out about it. I've got one later today. It'll be fine. But positioning it as a process and offer. So 3 months, this is what we'll do. This is the outcome. This is how that compares to the group level. So I'm always clear about it's not like this is better. It's about speed of results and how much personal research and energy you want to put into it versus outsourcing that to me. That's the way I position it. That was the main thing. But then the thing that really helped that compound was the timing of when that is offered. So it is now drip fed to them via the content in the automations within the program at week 5. So 6-week program. Week 6, we'll have like a planning call where we plan the next phase. We talk about subscription options. Most guys sign up for a rolling subscription. We're like 3 months, or some guys 12 months up front. But the act of timing this before that decision, so they have one conversion decision, has helped so much, because like they're like, oh yeah, this is the obvious next step now. It's this. And I will say, look, I think you'd be a really good fit for this. So here's some of the details. If you think it's worth a chat, just let me know. And on our planning call, we'll talk about it. That's made a huge difference, because the guys were already there. They were ready to pay me more money. I was not giving them the opportunity to do that, or I was timing it really badly.
Yeah.
Where it was like mistimed. They'd already made an investment decision to stay at the group level, and then I'm offering them one-to-one afterwards, which is nonsensical.
Yeah.
Now it's timed properly. It's a proper process. And that's made a huge difference. So I've had 2 guys sign up for 12 months one-to-one. That's what led to the first really good month in April. I'm now at a point where the guys are coming to the end of the first 3 month cycle of that. And both of those guys so far have signed up for another 3 months one-to-one. So
Yes.
it's not like they're just doing 3 months and then they're going, oh, I need to go back to group.
They're sticking around.
They're sticking around. Yeah. And they might stay in the program, but a lower tier in future, which is totally fine. Like, I don't expect people to work with me one-to-one forever if they don't want to. But the point is that all of that has really helped my LTV. My average LTV for clients has increased faster than it ever has over the course of this year.
Yeah.
Because in all of these cases, those guys are already spending more within 2 to 3 months of working with me than my average LTV was. So it obviously brings it up faster.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that. And that's exactly the challenge we had to solve, right? So for even more context for everyone else, we were seeing that the setup currently was adds to the free challenge. The free challenge was selling people into a 6-week thing, and then they would continue on a monthly rate afterwards. There was a higher tier, but the higher tier is almost sold as a nice to have, or it was sold as like most people don't do this. So when we identified all of this, we saw that we didn't even need to focus on more sales. The sales could stay exactly the same, and we can genuinely double the business, which we actually have now, by simply increasing the LTV. So yeah, we took this higher tier and we were able to do all of these things, make it a very, very clear process, make it the normal thing that people do, champion the people that are inside the normal tier. So more people, the higher tier, sorry. So more people want to go for that. And then of course, optimize the timing. And I remember the cool thing was, it wasn't too long after that conversation, straight away, it made a difference, right? Because a lot of the time, the problem in business is we get what we ask for. Like when we're asking people for lower prices and stuff, we get what we ask for, and then we sometimes, you weren't, but sometimes we can get frustrated about literally getting exactly what we asked for because we never presented a higher price. But then it wasn't too long after that, just a couple of weeks or maybe a month or so, that it all kind of built up, and then you had a 9K cash collected week, right? Because everything just kind of fell into place at that point.
Yeah, after we had that planning call on the same day, I had a mastery call. He signed up and I messaged you like, yeah, it worked straight away.
Yeah.
From there, I've raised the price for one-to-one, and it's converted even better because as a result of like the offer and everything else. In April, I was like really worried about money. I had to take some money out of my savings just to cover expenses. I had a lot of expenses at the same time, so it was a perfect storm. And then, like you say, in the last week of April, I made like 8 to 10K. And I was like,
Yeah.
"Fuck, this is amazing," because people, and it's the funny thing is like you build up, or I certainly build up all of these stories like this is a lot of money that I'm asking for someone. And then when you present it confidently and you show them the outcome, and when they're already bought in because you've proven and you've delivered a result for them and they've seen the quality of what you do, it's almost like to them, to these two guys, it was obvious. It was like, oh, we might as well just do 12 months then,
Yeah.
mightn't we? I'm
Yeah.
like, holy shit, I've just asked for like loads of money on a call that I would never, if you told me 12 months ago I'd be doing that, or 2 years ago, I'd be like, no way. And now it just seems fine and easy.
Yeah.
And that's
And on a business level, the amount that that singular client has paid you is probably way more than four clients would have paid you if we just kept it as it was before, or maybe even five or six.
yeah.
So before we finish, is there any other really big power moves that have helped us go from 5Ks to 13K months in this last year?
I suppose a couple around mindset. The first is stepping into the identity of the guy who's got the business. So I often
Always.
think like the guy who's making 15K a month, like what that version of me, I'm not there yet, but I plan to be.
Won't be long.
What what do they do? Like how do they show up? And what do they, just as importantly, what do they let go of? What do they not do? And that's not perfect. I've still have days where I struggle with distraction, or I find that I'm like going on Instagram too much or whatever. But certainly, like keeping that front of mind, reviewing it on a weekly basis in my weekly review, like holding myself accountable with some relevant questions around that. Um, and there was something else I was going to say about mindset that's gone. Louis, I remembered what the other power move was that I wanted to talk about when it came to mindset, and it was about goal setting. So, what I have fallen foul of a lot over the last few years is setting rigid and linear goals, generally related to turnover or monthly revenue, that then end up becoming stressful and counterproductive. So, for example, I want to be hitting 10K a month every month in 6 months' time, which is a goal that I set at the start of this year. And after the initial excitement wears off, I then tend to find, or have found in the past, that just causes stress because I'm comparing my current reality to that future idea I've got in my mind of what I want to achieve. So one of the power moves I made, and it's a lesson that I've had to learn more than once and keep learning, is to let go of that and to focus more on how I'm showing up. Am I focusing on the right actions? And ultimately, do I feel like I'm growing and making progress without necessarily putting strict milestones in place around the time in which it takes? So for example, and this happened last year as well, I'd set a big, demanding, ambitious goal at the start of the year. By a few months in, I would feel like I wasn't making progress towards that goal. It would cause me stress, anxiety, and I'd feel like the setting of the goal had become counterproductive. Let go of that. Focus more on, relax a little bit ultimately. Focus on fulfillment, focus on my energy, focus on the time I'm dedicating to work and making sure that I've got enough time for creative work and the things that give me energy alongside operational work and delivery. And letting go of stressing so much about am I hitting this financial target, or does it feel like far away or whatever. And the proof of it being counterproductive is that both in 2025 and in 2026, once I've let go of putting that pressure on myself, everything feels easier, and the results have come. And I think the reason the results have come is because it feels lighter, it feels easier, and therefore I'm more energized and I'm more focused on what is actually within my control rather than things that are largely outside my control, like whether this lead gets back to me and signs up or how many sales I make. I can't control other people, obviously, but I can control how I show up. And am I focusing on the right daily actions, the right weekly actions, and the right monthly actions that will allow me to be successful? So I hope that's helpful.
Well, we'll finish it there. Thanks so much for letting us go under the hood of the business. This is just the beginning as well. I don't think 15K is far off, especially if you've got people coming to, you've got a call today and everything else. I really don't think 15K is far off. I know you've got to go now, but you've done amazing. It's been a pleasure, and we're continuing on from this point. But any final things that you'd like to say before we finish here? I know you've got a call now that you got to go make some money, but.
No, it's okay. I've said I'll be 5 minutes late. I think one lesson is just that it can be surprising how simple a transformative change can be. Like, just because on that call where we were talking about like the one-to-one and turning it into a process, treating it like a proper offer, just that one thing has created so much leverage and so many benefits in the business. And it's like a hinge action that's created a lot of positive downstream. And it's fairly simple. It's not like a really complicated thing. It's not that it's something that required loads of work from me.
Yeah.
But having the objective support, somebody else to like say, have you considered doing this? Because you're so like heads down and you just get locked into your way of doing things. Sometimes having the ability to come up and having somebody else to say, have you tried this? Can seem so obvious afterwards, but it didn't seem obvious at the time. So I suppose like finding those points of leverage in whatever business you do is like so powerful.
I love that, because it's funny that so every single coach is struggling or believes that they're struggling with leads and sales, and they're constantly trying to get leads and sales. But you can be as good of a race car driver as you want to be, but the car that you're in is going to make a big difference, right? And and just like that example that we've just given, there's so many instances where actually it's more the structure of the business, which no one really looks at. They just choose their price, they choose one single offer and they leave it there. It's actually often the structure of the business, the offer and everything else that is the biggest lever, and nothing else really needs to change and everything changes. I got to ask one more question. If someone is watching this and are on the fence about joining and working with me, what would you tell them?
Well, I took a very low risk bet to start with. Like it was like £8, I think it was, the offer builder.
Maybe 950, maybe £5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is nothing, obviously, and it delivered so much benefit. So, I think if you are struggling with something and you know that something is missing or you're not fulfilling your potential or you need some support and guidance, I really value your authenticity. I value the fact that you are running your business and using that as an example of how other people can run theirs. So I appreciate that transparency. And I'm not just blowing smoke because we're like at the end of like a call where we've talked about results and stuff. This is part of why I've stuck around, because I'm aware that I bought that low thing and then upsold again. And that is proof of what you teach. And I think that is really important.
Yeah.
And the other thing I think is really valuable is when I open Instagram and it's like business coaches for coaches in Dubai, and they're just talking about like random, arbitrary, round number, massive sums of money. It never seems real. Your marketing and the stuff you cover online is more based around fulfillment and alignment. And that's what's important to me, like we talked about at the start of the call.
I love it. Thank you so much. Well done on doubling the business, or even more. And let's triple it.
Yeah, well, let's keep going.
Let's triple it. Cool.